if you're going to be building a printer similar to this from just spare parts, the one thing that you're have to figure out are how you want to do the Z-axis drive motors. There are two Z-axis drive motors like this. Probably a better way to do it with just a single motor mounted somewhere and running one belt between them, but this is the way they did it here. It does cause problems with the bed leveling. So coming up with a single belt system that you can actually tension a little better than these is probably a good upgrade from the way the FT5 is configured. Then similar, just using the, sorry, it's kind of out of focus. Using the linear rail, similar to what they did, would work out pretty well. It's pretty stable, really sturdy. You don't need to move the Z-axis that fast, so it works really well for what its purpose is. The rail sliders for the X and the Y axis both work pretty well. They're just the cheap little Chinese ones. I guess whatever size of those you get will determine what size your rails need to be, but they work relatively well. FT5 comes with all these wooden cut parts. They're kind of crap. If you over tighten them, the wood splits and breaks. They're not great. There's probably a million better ways to bracket the outsides. I've seen the cubes and things to go in the corners. One cube that bolts all three together, much sturdier, and they're a little expensive, but if you consider making that many parts, you're going to be saving money just getting the cubes and probably just the regular little L brackets that go inside the channel here. Drag chain, everything like that. Normal, standard, nothing special there. The way that I made my carriage, I wanted it to be as light as possible, so I could use a E3D V6 hot end. And it's kind of important too to look, you need to be able to mount the belts to both sides of it. So if I move it forward here, you can see I just have bolts sticking out of the back. If you wanted to make a carriage that wraps around, kind of like the stock carriage, that's fine too. I just used some M5 bolts and dropped them through from the top and pulled on them until they kind of sprung out, and it actually keeps really good tight tension on the belts. So that's one way to do it. A million ways to make that work though. Oh yeah, I was talking about these. You need the smooth idlers. Crap, sorry for the crappy video. Smooth idlers for the flat side of the belt. You don't want teeth on those, it'll tear your belt up. Also the larger diameter, M5 diameter on those. Same thing with these idler pulleys. You need geared ones for the geared side. One side's geared, one side's smooth, just because of the way the belts have to line up. You have a high belt and a low belt, so your pulleys have to line vertically. As you notice here too, these are M3s on here right now. They suck. It doesn't work well, and I'll show you on a close-up of 1Y. But yeah, they're not great. They you have to get them really close to each other like this so that you can have your belts as close to parallel as you can. You do have one crossover that you have to make, and you can make it like they just need to be close together, close into alignment, so that you get a straight pull. You don't want them to be way out of an alignment, otherwise it's going to kind of tip on your carriage in the center. So that's the one thing. Getting them close together and then not having them rub is very difficult with the smaller pulleys. And I think I've got some out in one of these. Maybe not. Either way, the problem is that the diameter of the bearing inside of there is like the same size as an M3 washer. So when you try to put a washer in between them, it grinds on the casing on the bearing and doesn't actually give any kind of smooth operation. So I had to make little shims that fit in there, and they're real small, but it was just a real pain. It'd have been so much easier if I'd have just ordered all of them this size with the M5 size hardware and then went with that. But I guess that's just the way it goes. But yeah, these are all CNC machine parts that I designed for it that kind of keep everything lined up. The way that I went was kind of similar to stock hardware. There's directly underneath the this piece here, or sorry, this piece directly underneath this, There's 4 bolt holes that bolt straight down directly into the carriage bearing on the linear rail. And then, so you bolt that in, tighten that down, and then you can come in from underneath and bolt the extrusion to the top. So it's really sturdy, really square. And then the pulleys just kind of line up to where you just get a nice symmetry as far as a nice even gap going to both sides. And then, yeah, like I said, you got a high belt, low belt. You just line those up on there. Pretty easy to do. The conversion wasn't too bad. I probably went way overboard on a lot of stuff as far as the machine parts, but just kind of wanted something that would work well and be reliable, and it definitely is. It's way fast too. As far as a accurate, reliable, fast printer, you can't really beat it. If you have any other questions on how I made things kind of fit together, this is my I had to kind of prop up the wiring here, and it's mostly just so that it kind of stays out of the way a little bit better. Brought my limit switch up, put it right there, bolted on there real tight to where it's real sturdy. You get really sturdier your limit switches are, the better repeatability you get for zeroing. And this one has been, I mean, less than 1,000 for most of the stuff that I make, which is more than I needed, so works pretty well.